Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
Look, 2020 has proven to be the year of many things, and the same for 2022. But if you're a small business, this could also be the year you switch to a better payroll. Gusto wasn't just built for small businesses, it was built for the people behind them. Their online payroll is easy to use. Gusto can automatically calculate paychecks and file all your payroll taxes, which means you have more time to run your business. Plus, Gusto does way more than payroll. Gusto helps with time tracking, health insurance, 401ks, onboarding, commuter benefits, offer letters, access to HR experts. You get the idea. It's super easy to set up and get started. If you're moving from another provider, they can transfer all your data for you. It's no surprise that 94% of customers are likely to recommend Gusto. And here's the best part. Because you're a listener to this podcast, you get 3 months totally free. All you have to do is go to gusto.com/compliance. That's gusto.com/compliance. I'm telling you, you're going to love Gusto. Get started today. The Daily Compliance News for October 5th, 2021. The Lazarus edition. And we begin with that story, which is Aussie media, after announcing Friday it was shuttering and firing all of its employees, determined over the weekend that it had its Lazarus moment as CEO, or former CEO, and now new CEO, Carlos Watson, announced that we're back just days after ceasing operations. He said on the NBC Today show that the company would resume operations after having had its Lazarus moment, a reference to the follower of Jesus who is raised from the dead in the biblical Gospel of John. So if you're thinking about raising money, perhaps you might want to consult your New Testament for references to Lazarus, or perhaps watch Star Trek, the episode also with Lazarus, and determine whether you think Aussie media can be trusted. Next up, from the Washington Post, a report on the Pandora Papers, the foreign money secretly flooding U.S. tax havens, and of course much of it tainted. The largest state in the United States, which is funding or setting up these trusts, is South Dakota, interestingly enough, proving once again that every time the regulators shut one venue down, they just simply run to another one. So it's going to be interesting to see after these developments whether U.S. regulators will move to stop the shell corporations, which are masquerading as trusts, so that the money cannot be traced in them. And of course, there are many foreign folks who are doing this, so it's even worse for U.S. national security interests. Next up, from the Wall Street Journal, Risk and Compliance Journal, Dylan Toker and Jamie Tuboado reporting the UK court on Monday fined Petrofac some £77 million, which is approximately $143 million, for failing to prevent senior executives from using agents to bribe public officials for oil contracts in the Middle East. This came in the 2011-2017 timeframe, in connection with contracts in Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates by Petrofac. Petrofac was anticipating a fine of much higher, perhaps as much as $240 million, yet the British court found that Petrofac and their cooperation were worthy of a steep discount on this fine. So Petrofac pricing or stock shares went up by £7 today, so a significant jump from this, and once again showing that no matter how bad things are, when you get caught in bribery and corruption, you can make a comeback if you change your attitude. And our final story is Facebook, not the Facebook whistleblower allegations, but the complaint by the FCC that Facebook is a monopoly. Facebook went into court to try to, once again, have the case thrown out of court. If they're able to do so, it will portend a significant change in U.S. antitrust law because it will clearly show it can't be used in the modern era. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.